through the shakas also. So in such condition, in Vasanta Ritu, we may have to go for the Purva Karmas also. Okay. And coming to the other condition, otherwise, what we have to do? If Utklishta Avastha is not there, Bahudoshata is there, and Upastitatva is not there, what we have to do? So that is what Acharya says. Tani upastita doshanam snehasvedo upapadanai panchakarmani kurvita matra kalo vicharayam. If upastita doshatva is not seen, only bahudosha lakshana is there, then we can achieve the upastitatva with the proper purva karma. So that is very important. The purva karmas plays an important role to make the doshas upastita or detached from the srotas, to detach the srotolinata or dhatulinata, or mobilize the dosha from shaka to koshta. So that is why the purva karmas plays important role in the shodha. Okay, coming to the vamana siddhata or the procedure for vamana. I am directly entering to the vamana. Less theory and some of the practical aspects I will discuss here. So the vamana, as you know, it can be classified into purva karma, pradhana karma, and paschat karma. And in the purva karma, again, pachana, snehana, swedana, utkleshana. I am very cautiously using the terminology pachana. It's not deepana. Or pachana deepana, we can say it's not deepana pachana, because pachana happens first, then the deepana comes. So that is why pachana, snehana. Here snehana means shodhananga snehapana, and swedana, shodhananga sweda. And utkleshana. Utkleshana especially for the vamana. And for virechana also, the procedure almost similar, like pachana, snehana, swedana, etc. Only difference is utkleshana. That means kapha utklesha ahara is not required for virechana, but kapha avardhika ahara should be given for the virechana. Okay. So after that, pradhana karma of vamana is there. Then paschat karma, in paschat karma I will discuss regarding samsojana karma, some of the complications. Rasayana is the paschat karma for any shodhana. Then shamana therapy or vajikarna. Shamana therapy in the sense kashayantarapana, like that, kashayapana, etc. is indicated at the end of the shodhana. Okay. Then vajikarna. Because for vajikarna and rasayana, these shodhana procedures are considered as the purva karma. Okay. Let us see one by one. So first comes the pachana. Pachana is nothing but is rukshana karma, right? In the context, Dallanacharya says that pachanam hi rukshanam. Almost all the pachana dravyas causes the rukshana in the body. And this rukshana is very much essential for performing the snehana in a siddha purusha. This is very important because all the purushas are siddha in nature. All the purushas are siddha in nature. Snehasaro ayam purusha. The grade of snehana may be different from person to person. Vata prakriti persons may be having less sneha in their body, and kapha prakriti may be having more sneha in their body. But all the purushas are siddha. So that is why before starting further snehana, adding up snehana to a person, we have to perform the rukshana. So that is very important. For example, if you want to add 1 glass of water to a sponge, you can just pour the water to that sponge, so it will absorb. Okay, so already this sponge having 1 glass of water. I want half glass more to that. What will be, what is the method? You can add it to with a glass, just pour again over that. Only 2-3 spoons may be absorbed by the sponge, remaining will flow out. But the same thing can be modified in another way. Just squeeze the sponge, remove little amount of water from the sponge, then add the water to that. So it will absorb more. Similarly, when the body is having snehana in the body, siddhata in the body, we have to slightly reduce the snigdhata. That is why the rukshata is very important. Then only there will be acceptance of snehana to the body may happen. In another way, it may help to enhance the agni in the body also. Why? Because in the context of pachakagni, tekta dravatvam pakadi karmananala shabditam, pachatinnam vibhajati saragato pradaktata, tekta dravatvam, tekta dravaswabhavam. When the dravaswabhava in the body, that means the kledata in the body reduces, the pachakagni increases, the tikshnata of the agni increases. So when we do the rukshana, indirectly it is going to increase the agni also, reduces the sneha also. So in two ways, it is going to benefit for your procedure. Okay. So Pachana, there are different procedures are there. You can, any one of the procedures you can adopt. It may be internal medications or some external applications, Rukshana procedures like Uddurtana, Dhanyamladara, Pudikiri, whatever it may be. So according to the yukti, according to the condition requirement, you can select any of these procedures. Next, coming to the Snehana. So I'm not going to detail into the Snehana. I don't know whether the Snehana discussion is happened or not, but the Shodananga Sneha is very much essential for the performance of the Vamana Karma, because the Snehana, it will help to improve the dosha mridu karna or sroto mridu karna, so that later when we do the swedana, this doshas which is in the srotas from the shaka can be easily moved towards the koshta. Okay, so this is very important. So that is why yukti anusara or vyadi anurodhanusara sneha dravyas should be utilized. So one beautiful example I want to give to you is Snehana, when we do the Arohana Matra Sneha, so that is one of the best method or practically acceptable best method for the Shodananga Sneha is Arohana Matra Sneha. When we do the Arohana Matra Sneha, we have to always consider the Koshta and Agni of the patient. Based on the Koshta and Agni only, we have to increase the dosage of the Sneha. And once the Samyak Siddhata achieves properly, then only we have to stop the Snehana. So the Samyak Snigdhata further can be classified into 3 stages. One is Avara Snigdhata, Madhyama Snigdhata, and Pravara Snigdhata. So actually this is not mentioned in the classics, but in practice we can do that. And we have developed a tool to assess the Samyak Snigdhata. And in that, based on the scores, we can classify the Samyak Snigdhata into Pravara Snigdhata, Madhyama Snigdhata, Avara Snigdhata. Here Avara Snigdhata is not Ayoga, Avara Samyak Snigdhata, Pravara Samyak Snigdhata, and Madhyama Samyak Snigdhata. Okay. And coming to the Swedana. So after that, the Swedana is very important. So a proper Swedana after the achievement of Samyak Snigdhata will help to mobilize the doshas from the Shaka to Koshta. Utkleshana Ahara. So for Vamana, even with the Snehana itself, there will be Doshotkleshana may happen. But again, after this some achievement of Samyak Snigdhata, if at all we have any doubt in the status of dosha, we can further increase the dosha with the help of the Utkleshakara Ahara during the Vishramakala. For that, we can select some of the Kapha Vrdhikara Aharas like Masha, Mams, Matsya, Dadi, Shira, etc. But the problem is, for example, the Masha. Masha is one of the best Kapha Vrdhikara Ahara, and it may help to increase the Kapha in the body. But in which form Masha is given, that is very important. Because Ulnu Vada, in some centers, I have seen that the people or doctors are advising Ulnu Vada for the Vamana, before the Vamana, for the Kaphotkleshakara. But in my opinion, this intake of Ulnu Vada is very wrong practice because of the Paka. How we are doing the Ulnu Vada Paka of Masha? We are frying it in the oil, deep fry. So this may cause further Vidaha in the patient. So it imparts some Rukshata to the Masha. So the expected quantity of dosha Utkleshana may not happen in such conditions. So that is why in our hospital, we are not using any this oil fried items. Instead, we are using the Masha Payasa, Tila Laddu. Tila sesame is one of the best Kaphotkleshakara Ahara. And morning, the patient may get the milk with the idli. Idli contains the Masha and rice. And lunch curd with rice, and night milk with rice. In between, Masha Payas and Tila Laddus will be given. So this is one of the best Kaphotkleshakara Ahara which can be given prior to Vamana. And how much quantity of these dravyas should be given? Acharya says that according to the Agni of the patient, he can consume this. It should not cause ajirna to the patient. So after giving large quantity of kaphotkileshakara ahara, if the patient gets ajirna, the next day it's not possible to perform the vamana. Coming to the pradhana karma, the kala, manasopachara, siddhayavagu, akantapana, aushadha, muhurta palana, paricharaka vritti, upavega pravritti, what we have to do. So I'll be touching some of the aspects, and at the end, if you have any queries, then I can explain furthermore. The kala is very important when we have to perform the vamana. Whether it should be in the morning hours or in the evening hours. Of course, the udaya kala or kapha vriddha kala in the morning hours itself is suitable for the vamana. So after that, if you do the vamana when the kapha kshaya kala and pitta vriddhikara kala, it may cause some complications. Sometimes the patient may get the giddiness, etc., lakshanas, or rakta chandrika, etc. seen. One of the important factor before vamana is manasopachara. Manasopachara. We have to educate the patient before vamana, not only vamana, before snehapana also. But generally the people are not doing. So before doing vamana, the previous day, the person has to be educated. The patient has to be educated what he is going to get the next day, how the vamana is performed, what is the benefit of vamana, what is the importance of the cooperation by the patient, how much quantity of medicine he has to drink, what are the expected complications. All those things should be explained to the patient very clearly, because this increases the acceptability of the patient, and the patient will be more cooperative to the procedure. Siddhayavagu. Siddhayavagu is another practice. Before vamana, the yavagu, Siddhayavagu is administered. Why? Because it is mentioned in the Ishat Siddhayavagu. Ishat Nirannam, Ishat Siddhayavagu is advised on empty stomach. So one way this is going to increase the kapha in the body. So after on the day of vamana, after Abhyanga Sweda and Snana, the patient is made to eat the Siddhayavagu. This helps to increase the kapha on that day. Little amount of snehana will be imparted to the body. Apart from that, this semi-solid consistency of ahara will help to close the pyloric antrum. So because further we are going to give all the materials in liquid form. So the liquids can easily pass through the pyloric antrum only if you are giving only liquid materials. So that is why at the first itself we are going to give the semi-solid consistency Siddhayavagu. This will help us to close the pyloric antrum so that further liquids will be retained in the stomach. Otherwise, the patient may get soon the virechana, vyapata, etc. Akantapana. Akantapana is not a must for women. It's not a very required thing. So Akantapana helps to reduce the complications or tiredness of the patient. So that is the only benefit of Akantapana. So generally Akantapana is indicated in Bala, Vriddha, Biru, Abala, etc. The Alpabala persons. Okay. So in such conditions, the Akantapana is indicated. Like Kshira can be used. If Kshira Dusha is there, in such conditions, Yusha can be used. Like that, different Madhya, even Madhya also can be given. But it will be very difficult to perform Vamana with Madhya. So somebody tried with making the patient to drink with the beer, but only 1 or 2 Vega came. After that, patient become out of control. Okay, so that's not practically possible nowadays. And the Aushadha. Aushadha is very important. I will discuss the Aushadha, the different combinations of Aushadha in the separate slide. And generally the common practice of Aushadha is Madanaphala, Yashti, Vacha, and Madhusaindava, which is the very common practice. And all the required material of Aushadha should be kept in the theatre. This is very important because if at all any complication is happening, we have to be able to manage these complications. So the medicines required to manage the complications also should be there in your surrounding. And in the Madanaphaladi Yoga, the common Madanaphaladi Yoga, Madanaphala, Vacha, Yashti. So the quantity of Vacha should be always less. It should not be more than 4 or 5 grams. Okay. So if the quantity of Madanaphala is more than 10 up to 15, 20 also, no problem. Because I have seen, my father was a Panchakarma practitioner. He was practicing the Vamana with 30 grams of Madanaphala. Okay, freshly ground Madanaphala is given 30 grams. So up to 30 grams, no problem, Madanaphala. But when Vacha, the quantity of Vacha is there, it one of the centrally acting Vamaka Dravya. So even the stomach content is emptied, the Vamana Vega or the reflex may not stop till the concentration of the Vacha reduces in the brain. Because I have a experience when I was doing my post-graduation, once I tried to give around 8 grams of Vacha for a patient. It was an experiment actually. He was a very strong built person. Now we can't do that because in student life we can do seldom mistakes and there are teachers to correct it. Okay, so I have given the Madanaphala 10 grams of Madanaphala and 8 grams of Vacha and Yashti 5 grams and Madhu Saindava. And the patient was a psoriasis patient and I performed the Vamana because for Vamana only PGs will be there in Hassan at that time. So I performed Vamana and after Vamana around 8 o'clock I finished Vamana. The content was empty. Patient had a Pitta Darshana. So I sent him to the room. But still he had some reflex like he was doing like that vomiting reflex is there but nothing is coming out because the content is empty. So I sent him to the room. Then I went back to my room for bath and breakfast. So after that I came at 9 o'clock back to the college. So the sister was came to the Panchakarma theatre and told that, sir, the patient is still vomiting in the room. So when I entered to the room around 9:30, by entering to the room itself, I had some bad smell of pitta is very strongly coming, like some loha gandhi, etc. we can say. So when I entered, it was in the semi-special room at SDM Hassan. There was used to have a bathtub in the bathroom. So when I saw in the bathtub, there was some yellow stains or different parts of the bathtub I can see. So I came to know that he's only vomiting pitta. So I approached my teachers. So this is happening. Patient is having this reflex. What should do? Shall I do some Shitalopachara? Then they told, yes, you can try that, but it's not going to help because till the concentration of Vacha should reduce from the brain, then only this reflex will reduce. This was the opinion by Gurdeep Singh sir at that time. Okay, anyway, I tried. I have given the Shitalopachara. So some dhara to the head and some Pittahara Dravyas, Priyangu, etc. was given to drink. Madhipala Sayana, etc. was given. And around up to 11:30, he had the same reflex. He was very strong. That's why no complication was seen. Only this reflex was there. Even after this Shitalopachara, it was not reduced much. Some comfort was given, able to get to the patient. But around 11:30, 12:10, he became almost normal. And after that, when he got the hunger, he was given the Samsarjanaka. Okay, there was no other complication seen. Again, recently, after I one of my students in the sense that one of the trainee who came to our Karma Vasantam workshop regularly, yearly what we conduct at Amrita. So he once telephoned me, sir, one of my friend is having this Vamana like complications. She had taken Vacha and ST or Vacha alone, I don't remember now, as not for Vamana, for some other purpose regularly. But today I think she has taken a little more Vacha and she is having this Vamana Vega. So while my training session in Amrita, he has heard this experience. So that's why he telephoned me. So I told you give Shitalopachara, so and so things you can do. It may take a little more time. And but in the evening he telephoned me, sir, I have instructed the patient like that. And she was also a BMS doctor. The patient was also a BMS doctor. She done all those things. And actually 1 hour or 30 minutes or 1 hour, she became all right. Okay. So this is very important. The management of complications, once it happens, we have to be able to handle it. Then Muhurtam Anupalanam. Muhurtam Anupalanam is very important because once the Aushadha is taken, the maximum time we can give is Muhurta. Once the Muhurta is crossed, it will start to get the Virechana Vega. So before that, we have to perform the Vamana. Paricharak Vritti. This is very important. The paricharakas should be very much affectionate to the patient, very much dedicated to the work. Then only we can keep them as paricharaka for the Vamana. So in the context of Vamana, Acharya Charaka gives a very beautiful quality. Anapatrapaniya. Anapatrapaniya means alajjavan. They should not be hesitant or hesitating to help the patient, because sometimes when the patient, you see the Vegas in this picture, in video, when the patient vomits, sometimes it may spill out of the tub and it may fall on your feet or dress. At that time, if you suddenly run to wash your feet or dress, the patient may be abandoned at that time. But he needs the support at that time, and you should not leave him alone to clean your leg or your dress. Okay, so that is why the paricharaka who assists for Vamana should be Anapatra Paniya, Alajjavan, Upavegan, Apravrittan Pravartit. This is very important. There are two conditions. One is Upavega and the another is the Vega. Vega means Pratigrahagatan Avikshitavantavyam. When it is, see in the picture, when it is released from the mouth and touches the tub. This continuity, if the Vega maintains or the vomitus maintains, then it can be considered as Vega. Upavega is one thing which is released from the mouth and breaks in between. Or sometimes it may not come out also. He will be having only reflex. This is considered as Upavega. This is the difference between Vega and Upavega. If the Upavegas are there, at that time we have to ask the patient to put two fingers or Suparilikita Nakhabhyam. After cutting the nails thoroughly, and put the two fingers and touch the throat or just press the tongue very mildly, the patient may vomit. But at the same time, we have to ask them to keep the tongue even while he vomits. Because once the vomitus comes out, suddenly if he removes, again it goes back. It settles down. Again he has to put. So this should be repeatedly done. Instead, while vomiting is also happening, he has to put two fingers and press the tongue, and the vomitus should come through, fall through the tub through his hand. So the Vega will be continuously happening. Or else you can use some nadis, some red rubber catheter, whatever it may be available, some smooth thing to touch the throat. Okay. Upavegan, Apravrittan, Pravartit. These are some of the pictures of Akantapana, the Shira Vamana, and the another is Khanda Prapidana, and the Upavega, Vamanopaga, and the Saindava Jala and Dhumapana. Okay. So Vamana Shuddhi Prakara. I am coming directly to the Shuddhi Prakara. So in the Shuddhi Prakara, Acharya says that there are four types of Shuddhi Prakara. Is there Vaigiki, Maniki, Antiki, and Laingiki. Vaigiki, Maniki, Antiki, and Laingiki. Among these Chaturvida Shuddhi Prakara, the prime importance should be given to Laingiki Shuddhi. Based on the lakshanas only, we have to assess whether the patient achieved Samyak Shuddhi or not. Okay, so that is why the Chakrapani also says in the context. Because the numbers may be different. The quantity of dosha which came out from the body is also may be different. Sometimes the Maniki Shuddhi means the quantity of dosha which came out from the body. Okay, that may be 100 ml or 200 ml. Sometimes it may be minus 50 ml also. Okay, that may also happen. But his lakshanas may be showing towards the Shuddhi, proper Samyak Shuddhi. Vegiki. In some patients, we may have only 5 Vegas. Some patients, we may go up to even 12, 13 Vegas also. Okay, but this 13 Vegas doesn't mean that the patient has achieved Pravara Shuddhi. He may be achieved only Avara Shuddhi. Okay, so that is why the numbers are not important in this context of Shuddhi Prakara or in any of these Panchakarma procedures. Always we have to depend upon the lakshanas. So that is why Kramat Khava Pitta Madhanilascha Yasedi Samik Vamidas Sarashta Hrit Parsha Murdhendriya Marga Shuddho Tada Lagutve Picha Rakshamano. So these lakshanas are very important. Kramat Dosha Nirharana is very important. Sometimes what happens is, instead of kapha first, sometimes in the second Vega itself, the patient may vomit yellow, pitta. And we may misjudge that it is pitta darshana and we may stop. It should not happen like that. So kramat dosha nirharana, then only we can consider as it is samyak shuddhi. First, kramat kapha, pitta, then vata also should come. So there should be vata darshana also should be there. I will discuss it in the next slide. Another thing is the antiki shuddhi. Antiki Shuddhi is very important, means to stop the procedure, this Antiki Shuddhi is important. Pittantata is very important. Okay, so because Laingiki Shuddhi, all the Lakshanas may not be visible soon or at the time of Vamana. Or we cannot depend on the Vega, number of Vega to stop the Vamana. Only thing we can depend is the Antiki Lakshanas. Antiki Lakshanas. So like in Vamana, the Pittantata, that should be considered. The Pitta Darshana can be considered. If you see Pittantata or Pitta Darshana, surely we can say, we can stop the procedure now. Then analyze which kind of Shuddhi the patient is having. Whether it is Pravara Shuddhi, Madhyama Shuddhi or Avara Shuddhi. Okay, I will discuss in detail regarding this Antiki Shuddhi in the next slide. Okay. Similarly, in Nasya also there is one Lakshana is mentioned to stop the Shuddhi Prakara. This is a question for the audience. Like in Vamana, Antiki Shuddhi, by seeing the Antiki Shuddhi, we can stop the procedure. This is a Lakshana or the symptom which denotes to stop the procedure. Similarly, in Nasya is also, there is one Lakshana is there. It's not Samyak Nasya Lakshana. Urashiro Lagav Indriyacham. No, not like that. There is one single Lakshana, similarly like this, is there for Nasya. So you tell at the end. See, Drishta Karmata. So in the Antiki Shuddhi, there are three categories we can see. This is what I understood when I learned in between the lines by Acharya Charaka and Vagbhatacharya. There are three things are there. One is Pittantata and Pitta Darshana. Both is there in Charaka itself, in different context. In Kalpasthana he says Pitta Darshana, in Siddhasthana he says Pittantata. Okay, so Pittantata and Pitta Darshana both are mentioned in Charaka Samhita. When it comes to Vagbhatacharya, he adds one more Lakshana. Not only Pitta, Pitta Darshana, Kapha Cheda, Chedova Kafasya is added by Ashtanga Hridayakara or Vagbhatacharya. Okay, so these three Lakshanas we can consider as Antiki Shuddhi. I look into these Lakshanas in a different perspective based on the confidence level of Vaidya. If a young person, beginner, who is not having very much experience in the Vamana, if you want to perform Vamana, he can do only reach up to Kafacheda. Kafacheda in the sense, the Pitta is not achieved, before that we are going to stop. Because our area of Vamana is Kapha Nirharana. Once the Kapha Nirharana is happened, we can stop. Fine, that's sufficient. How to ensure Kafacheda? That is another question. One way we can do is by observing the Vegas. That is why in context of Vamana, Acharya Charaka says there is a special quality for Vaidya. Vaidya should be Vega Vidagdha Drishti. Vega Vidagdha Drishti. The Vaidya should be observing the Vegas thoroughly. So we have to observe the Vegas thoroughly while it coming or falling from the mouth itself. What is the content? What is the color? What is the nature? So whether it contains Kapha, whether it contains Yavagu, whether it contains Pitta, like that we have to be observing the Vega. So in the initial Vegas, you may be seeing that after the vomiting happens, then he brings back his head to the normal sea. Some liquid may be oozing out from the, or dripping from the body, mouth. So initially it will be a wrong thread because of the presence of Kapha touching the tongue. But after second Vega or third Vega, the thread may be breaking. Initially it will be very thick, whitish in color. But later it becomes slightly transparent like that and breaks in between. When it reaches near to the Samyak Lakshana or the fourth or fifth or sixth Vega, it will be only water will be dripping out. Only water will be falling from the mouth. There is no thread formation. It is completely transparent, only water. That means that Kapha is completely eliminated. Kapha Cheda is there. Then you can stop. And if you want more perfection, then you can go for Pitta Darshana. If you want further more perfection, you can go for the Pittantata. So when you try to achieve the perfection, always there is the risk of complication. That is what I say, the confidence level of Vaidya. Based on that only, one can go for the perfection. Confidence in the sense, what is confidence? Confidence is not meant that You can perform Vamana. Oh, yes, I can perform Vamana up to Pittanta. It's not the confidence. Confidence in the sense, if at all any complication happens, because whenever you try hard to achieve the perfection or Pittantada, always there is the chances of increased chance of risk of complication. So, if at all any complication happens, I am confident enough to manage that complication. That should be the confidence level of a Vaipya. So, Kafacheda for beginners, it is fine. So, to ensure Kafacheda, next thing is Pitta. So, because in the Amashe, Urdhva Amashi is Kafasthana, Adho Amashi is Pittasthana. Once the Kapha is removed, what should next come? Pitta should become. Just observing Pitta is sufficient because it's